and today we have a Q&A session on some fiqh, on fiqh of fasting, or any questions related to Ramadan and its acts of worship. So Bismillah, Brother Masur, you said we already have some questions. Bismillah. So go ahead, inshallah.
Yes, Sheikh, Jazakallah khair. So on the fiqh of fasting, first of all, with the conditions such that we are all at home for itikaf, do we have any program for the community? What would you recommend? How do we maximize these last 10 days when we are in self-quarantine, mostly at home?
Jazakallah khairan for the question, Brother Mansour. First, I would like to remind whoever is following us that of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who said, ما من رجل يقع الطاعون في مكان فيجلس في بيته صابرا محتسبا إلا كتب له أجر الشهيد. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if when a pandemic takes place, a person stays home, showing patience and seeking the rewards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him the reward of a shaheed, right? So staying home now because of this pandemic, you know, it's a hardship, right? But in a way, it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we are home and we get the reward of a shaheed if we show patience, and if we look for the rewards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if we accept this situation with open hearts and with full contentment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This pandemic is one of the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore we have to accept his qadar. And we take our measurements and our precautions, and one of those precautions is that we stay with sabr and ihtisab and seek the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, coming back to the i'tikaf, right, as we are not able to perform it at the masjid, the best place of i'tikaf is the masjid, of course, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to make the i'tikaf in the masjid, right? And unless there is something that prevents us from the masjid, we are required to do the i'tikaf in the masjid, right? But now that we are not able to, then definitely, I mean, in the last 10 days of Ramadan, we should have a program, whatever program, you know, when you plan to come to the masjid for i'tikaf, you don't just come to sit down and wait for the salawat. You come with a plan to do khatam of Quran, to engage in more nawafil, to wait from one prayer to the next, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith, إسباغ الوضوء على المكاره وكثرة الخطى إلى المساجد وانتظار الصلاة بعد الصلاة فذلكم الرباط فذلكم الرباط فذلكم الرباط. Meaning that renewing the wudu often and going to the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala often and waiting from one prayer to the next, that is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ribat. Rabata yarbut is to tie. Yeah? So it's like when you wait from one salah to the next, you tie yourself and you wait from one salah to the next, but the time in between, you fill it with ibadat, right? From reading Quran, from making dua, from praying extra nawafil. So that should be the program, inshallah ta'ala. And for your convenience, I guess, alhamdulillah, your brothers in Kari Masjid have come with a proposal on how. This is just a model or a suggestion. It doesn't mean that this is how we should do it, right? But this is just a model. Hopefully, inshallah, it will be shared soon with the community, and that will help, inshallah, will help us home organize our time and have a good schedule while we have our program, inshallah, and busy ourselves in in ibadah, right? So those are some of the advices related to the i'tikaf. Inshallah, stay in home. Rasulullah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَعَلُوا بُيُوتَكُمْ قِبْلَةً, and make your houses as a qibla. So this is a good time to make our masajid, our houses, a qibla, right? We inshallah, in this 10 days of the last 10 days of Ramadan, we should engage, inshallah, in an intensive program of ibadat, inshallah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I hope I answered the question, inshallah, Brother Mansour. Brother Mansour, if there is another question, inshallah, or if there is an aspect of your question that I didn't cover and you want to ask about it again, inshallah, feel free. And so while waiting for Brother Mansour, inshallah, that was, in addition to what I said, the i'tikaf was a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the highly recommended sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Sahaba report, it was reported in the hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made the i'tikaf, and his wife sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made the i'tikaf after he died sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They continued to do that. So definitely we need some time for ourselves to fully focus on ourselves and on our akhirah and how we can improve and on prioritizing things in our lives. And that happens, subhanAllah, during the i'tikaf. Akafa ya'takifu, right? In Arabic, the meaning of the word akafa is to fully focus on something. And that's the linguistic meaning of the word akafa ya'takif, is to fully focus on something. So نقول, we say عكفت على الدراسة, I focused on studying, right? عكفت على العمل, I focused on working, right? Now the i'tikaf is to focus on ibadah. That's the purpose. So inshallah, these 10 days that are coming, inshallah, we should, whatever commitments we have, we try, inshallah, to end them before the i'tikaf, before those 10 days, the last 10 days of Ramadan. So when the i'tikaf is around, we are not disturbed or bothered by anything, and not by anyone, right? We just focus on ibadah. This is the best time also, as I said, to make more khatm of Quran and more dua. And during the last 10 days of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed this ummah with one night that is better than 1,000 months. ليلة إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر. The night of Al-Qadr is better than 1,000 months, right? And we should look for it. Rasulullah said, "التمسوها في العشر الأواخر من رمضان." Look for it in the last 10 days of Ramadan, as Rasulullah said. So this is a very precious and a very valuable time, so we should not miss it, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. The next question I have is about when we do an act of worship and with the intention of giving the ajr, the sawab to a deceased, like a mother or a father. Now, in these last 10 days, what are those things in the valid ways, authentic ways of benefiting those loved ones who have passed away?
Jazakallah khairan. Well, the best إذا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم said, إذا مات العبد انقطع من عمله إلا من ثلاث. When a person dies, his deeds come to an end except from three things. Yeah? صدقة جارية أو علم ينتفع به أو ولد صالح يدعو له. Sadaqah jariyah, a charity that a recurrent charity that person who died left behind, and that as long as people benefit from that charity, you know, the ajr of it gets to him and her, right? صدقة جارية وعلم ينتفع به, or a knowledge that he left behind, right, for people to learn from. وولد صالح يدعو له, and a righteous son or daughter who makes dua for that person. So if there is the best thing we can do for our beloved people who passed away, who died, is to make dua for them, right? Is to make dua for them. It's also good to give sadaqah on their behalf, right? There is a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in which he said, "Inna al-mayyita fi qabrihi kal-mustaghith," right? A person who died, he is like a person in his grave who is seeking rescue. كالمستغيث وإنه لا ينتظر أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, and he waits for someone to make a dua for him, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he accepts that dua, or if he accepts the sadaqah that you give on behalf of that dead person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduced the rewards of the dua and the sadaqat as mountains of rewards into the grave of that person. Rasulullah said, فَيَفْرَحُ بِهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduced those da'awat, the dua and the sadaqah that we give on their behalf as mountains of hasanat, and when they get that, they become so happy because of it. So dua is one main thing that we should really do specifically in this time, you know. The last 10 days of Ramadan, this is something unique that we should pursue, which is the dua, and also giving charity on their behalf. That should be also okay, inshallah. These are two things, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, that I would recommend specifically in this time. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Another question I have is about the zakat. A lot of people prefer to give it in Ramadan, and in these conditions, people want to find out about the zakat. So if you, especially from perspective of living in the West, where we have money tied up in credit cards and insurance and all those things, so just a general guidelines for people to follow. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. So we have here a question about zakah, and I wanna take advantage of the opportunity to distinguish between three things. First, we have zakat. We have sadaqah. We have sadaqah, charity in general, and then we have zakat, zakatul mal, the zakat of our money, our wealth, and then we have zakat al-fitr. Zakat al-fitr. Those are three different things. A sadaqah is something optional, but highly recommended by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, right? And you can give whatever amount of sadaqah as you like, as you can afford, right? There's no a certain amount that you have to give in sadaqah. The sadaqah is open, and you can give it for any purpose. You can give it to help a masjid, or contribute to or help someone who is going through a hardship, or you can help someone who has a debt on him or her. You can use it for any good purpose. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for that. But the zakat al-mal, as you all know, is 2.5% from our wealth, and the wealth includes whatever we have for an entire year, right? So let's say you have an amount of of savings in your account, which is for, let's say, at $10,000 in the account, and that $10,000 is there for an entire year. So you should give 2.5% of that zakat to, which should go to. There are 7 categories, I guess, in the ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم والغارمين وفي الرقاب. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the categories to which we should give the zakat, zakatul mal, right? إنما الصدقات للفقراء, those who are in need, right? والمساكين, the poor. والعاملين عليها, العاملين عليها includes those who work to distribute it or promote it, right? والمؤلفة قلوبهم. والغارمين, الغارمين, those are those who may have a debt on and that they cannot pay back. We can always use the money to help them pay back for the debt that they have, right? Some scholars include in that even Islamic institutions like masajid and Islamic organizations who have a debt on their projects, for example. We can give our zakat of money to help them pay back their debt, right? So that's for zakatul mal. Now, when it comes to zakat al-fitr, is mandatory and is an obligation on every person in the family, regardless of their age. So if a family consists of a father, a mother, and then 3 boys or girls, including a little baby of just few months, each one of these people in the family should give zakat al-fitr. And zakat al-fitr also goes to the needy and the poor, and that it serves as an urgent assistance to those who may need, specifically in the time of Eid. You know, when we end up the month of Ramadan, we go into the Eid. So zakat al-fitr is aimed to help those who are in hardship to really join the Eid with comfort, right? So that's why it has to be given before the day, or before, as is better to be given before the day of Eid. But if we can't for some reason, we have until the time of Iqama of Salat al-Eid to give our zakat al-fitr. Zakat al-fitr might be different from one place to another and from one community to another. So, for example, in our case, as Muslims living in the United States, usually the masajid agree on a certain amount to a certain amount of that reflects the cost of a full meal that we can present to a needy person, right? And that is $13 per person, right? $13 per person that we should give to those who are in need. Wallahu a'lam. So again, zakat al-fitr, it can be in depending on the country, as I said. So in certain countries, it should be from the good of the common good of the most common good of that country. So, for example, if the grains are the common good of a certain community or place, that's what helps people the best, then we give them from the grains. But in our case, in the United States, this is not the case. So what we need to do, what many masajid do, they decide on a certain amount of money for zakat al-fitr. In our local community, it's $13 per person, right? That we should give to the poor and to the needy. In maybe some other masajid in the not in the triangle area, as far as I know, the triangle area masajid, they decided on this number, and it's the same in all the masajid. But in other communities, it may be a little more or a little less. So the main thing is to to follow your local masjid, right? You follow your local masjid to avoid any confusion or any concerns, right? Inshallah. But I don't recommend for a brother or for a sister, for example, if they know that a masjid is asking for zakat al-fitr less than what another masjid is asking for. So let's say, for example, I'm just saying, Raleigh Masjid is asking for $12, and then Kerry Masjid is just asking for $11. So, but I usually pray at Raleigh Masjid. Then, because of zakat, I would give it to Kerry because they are asking less. No, you have to give it to your local community, right? And do not bargain about it. Do not go from one masjid to another to ask how much, because at the end of the day, it's not a significant amount of money, or it doesn't make any big difference, right? So, alhamdulillah, in our local communities, the number has been decided that is $13. So I encourage the brothers and sisters to give zakat al-fitr as soon as possible. I guess all the masajid have already started collecting the donations, the zakat al-fitr. So inshallah, you give it as soon as possible. But if you cannot afford it for some reason, inshallah, you have until the day of Eid before the establishment of Salatul Eid, inshallah. So those are some of the orders related to zakat al-fitr. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khair. Sheikh, do you have time for one more question?
Sure, inshallah.
Okay, Sheikh, this question is about, there are actually two parts of the question. One is giving this money, whether it's charity or zakat, to local versus back home for immigrants. That's one. And second is about what form can be given to non-Muslims.
Right. So, of course, zakat al-fitr should go locally, right? Unless there is no need locally, then you can give it to whoever deserve it, right? And you start with the very close people to you, your relatives, and are the most deserving of your sadaqah or your zakah, right? So again, for instance, zakat al-fitr should go locally. If you cannot identify a person who deserve it within your local community, then you should definitely contact your masjid and ask them if they know of anyone, or if they can, so that you can pass it to them and they can deliver it to them. If they said that there is no need locally for those for the zakat, for those sadaqat and for zakat al-fitr, then maybe you start thinking about passing it to the very close people to you, your family members or your relatives who are in absolute need for it, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, in other places. But the priority should be given to the local community. And the zakat al-fitr should go to a Muslim person, right? To a Muslim person, but inshallah, we can give also to the needy in general, from additional by allocating a small amount of money to those who are non-Muslims and who may be in need. Wallahu a'lam. But again, for instance, it should go to a Muslim. It should be local, right? Unless there's no need for it within the local community, then it can go to another community or another person. And for the non-Muslims, we can allocate an additional amount of money and give it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a sadaqah. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh. That was all the questions I had on my side.
Barakallahu feek, Brother Mansour. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless for us the next days of Ramadan, including the last 10 days, or specifically the last 10 days, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who are included in His mercy in this month and after that, inshallah. Ameen, ameen. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وجزاكم الله خير.